Hello, my name is Stephanie, and this is a channel about cross stitch. Normally I'm here with my sister Allison. She was not able to film videos this week. I explained that whole, I went into it in a lot more detail in our video that posted on Monday, which was a Flosstube. If you don't know what a Flosstube episode is, we have 3 kinds of videos on our channel, and this is a tutorial. They're for beginner stitchers, and if you're not a beginner and you're watching this, I would love if you left any tips or advice you have for new stitchers in the comments so that we can make these videos really helpful. If you don't know what a Flosstube episode is, on Mondays we come out with Flosstube episodes, which are very detailed overviews of our personal stitching. And they come out every other Monday. And then in between, we also have our 3rd type of video is a Flosstube Extra. And that is where we pick a topic that we just don't have time to talk about in our main videos. And we go insanely deep on them. And our next extra will be an overview of our Make It Murder style that we're going to be hosting. Some other recent Flosstube Extras we had were Allison talked about being a monogamous versus being a multi-project stitcher and her experiences with both. I did a vintage hoop parade and gave my tips for getting started with buying and using vintage hoops. We just do lots of fun things. But today is a beginner tutorial, and we're in the middle of a series about floss organization. We have covered some of the most typical ways that people start organizing cross-stitch floss. We've done bobbins, we've done floss drops, we've done floss away bags and other like plastic bag centric storage. And today we're going to go over thread keeps and floss cards. Thread keeps versus floss cards. What's the difference? So this is a floss card. There are lots of different floss cards out there on the market, and people can make their own. So they won't always look exactly like this, but essentially it's some kind of cardboard or plastic piece that holds a lot of floss. They can get way big and hold a lot of floss, whereas a thread keep is usually smaller, more decorative. Like thread keeps tend to be pretty and floss cards tend to be more utilitarian, though there are crossovers. Thread keeps hold your floss, but they might have a decoration. Another one I have is just, you know, a pretty little plastic flower. So when it holds your floss, it just looks very cute. But they essentially serve the same function and work the same way. It just kind of depends on your style. All right, so we're going to talk about thread keeps first. And what is exactly a thread keep? It is a small decorative floss holder, though they can hold. I've seen ones made that holds a lot of floss, more than even the floss card that I just showed. But typically the idea is that they're decorative and pretty, but still organize your floss. This one does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one has 10 slots. So this one came in a subscription box. This one is from Stitchy Box, and it's really small. And even though it is actually quite small, it still holds 8 floss colors. Sometimes you'll see people fill them all up all the way around, and sometimes what you'll see people do what I'm doing, which is I have blends or working threads in some of the holes that I'm not using. Now, on these, for thread keeps, you'll often see these on projects with not as many flosses, and there's no place to like write on here, but I have seen people label, like take a sticker and write the thing on it, either the number of the floss or the symbol. And I've also seen people take a piece of tape and do that so that these are reusable. You don't want to take something that's supposed to be permanent and decorative and cute and, you know, make it so that it only works for one project. Whereas like this doesn't really have room for labels, but the project that I used this on only had 4 floss colors. So I didn't need to continue to refer back. It was like, oh, that's a black stitch, or oh, that's a green stitch. And then these two, I think the symbols were really obvious. So, and if you can tell, I was in a very specific season when I was using these last. These were both in fall projects, because when I, last year, I kind of took a look at all kinds of different organization systems to figure out which ones I liked and which ones I didn't. I actually really like using thread keeps. They're really fun. I will never do them on most projects, but having 1 or 2 projects on them is kind of fun, and they do make it special. Now, the word thread keep I've seen it also used for the kind of ring with like a decorative piece that sometimes is called like floss bling. I don't know why it's used for both, but it's even listed, those products are even listed both on Etsy under that by people who know what they're talking about. So if you are hearing a thread keep and you're thinking like something to go on a ring, that's, the word is also used for that. But in this situation, I'm talking specifically about decorative wooden or plastic, or I guess you could do a metal one, that holds your floss that you can label, but usually they're not designed in a way where like you like write on them. And they're typically not super expensive. These wooden ones are pretty popular, and I just was looking on Etsy to make sure that I had all the terminology right. And Teresa Kogut has one listed that has her like design on it for like $7. It's super cute. These were like less than $3 from Stitchy Box, but they are they're permanent solutions in terms of like, unless I break this, I can use it. Like I can use this until it breaks. Whereas a floss card is usually plastic or cardboard. A lot of times people will buy them like this, where they make it, but then you can also make your own. You can just take an index card and make one. But the idea behind it is that it has holes for your floss, and then that you can write and label the floss. So if you were, you could write the DMC number. You could also write the symbol on here. And if you had a blend, you could put blends on here. You can put your working thread back in the same hole as your main one, or on the end. And I actually got these in like a Facebook Marketplace like haul of like used needlework stuff. So I've never used a specific brand, but most these are just from a craft store. Like, and also like, so okay, so these are from a craft store. You'll also find people will when they make their own, they'll make them, especially for like if they have a kit where they have to take all of the floss and separate all the floss colors themselves, then they might do this just to keep them separated, because like a Mill Hill kit might be something you are going to finish in like a day or two. Not me, but might be something that someone's planning on stitching up relatively quickly, and it wouldn't be worth their time to like do something really complicated, but they want to get their floss separated, so they just put it on a card and write it down. Or they make their own card with a larger hole punch and write it on there. There are also plastic floss cards on Amazon that are reusable that you can label. Usually if you're writing it on plastic or acrylic with a permanent marker, isopropyl alcohol will take it off, so you could theoretically reuse them. If you're doing that, I also have seen people make really elaborate and cool ones for like really big full coverage projects. So I've seen Helen D make her own floss cards for like smaller Mill Hill kits. I've seen Crafty Gaming Jamie uses the plastic floss cards for her entire master set of floss, which is really cool. And she has videos on how she does them, and she has videos on like kitting from them. And then I've seen Stitching at the Cabin. They are working on making floss cards that are like kind of like the old Heaven and Earth design style that they don't really do as much anymore, that are very cool and elaborate. So I will link to all of their channels below if floss cards are something you are super interested in, either as a in-bag solution, so like these are things I would stick in a project bag, or like a permanent solution. They're all channels that use them quite frequently. If you are considering using a floss card or a thread keep for a project, you might want to know how to load them. So you load them just like you load a floss wrap. So you take, now I will say when I cut this floss, it was before I started measuring to make sure all my floss were the same size when I would put them into things like this. So my floss is looking a little bit raggedy, but you would take you cut your ends of your floss, and then you take it, and you pinch it, and you poke it through. And it doesn't really matter which way you poke it through, like if you go this way or this way, as long as they're all the same. And actually, I think I did these this way. So in your floss drop or in your thread keep, you want to have them all go the same direction, but neither direction is technically like right. And so you loop it around and pull, and there it's on. You also might find that your kit, it comes with a floss card already done, but not wound around it. So you might want to secure. If you checked out the Thomas Kincaid video that Allison and I recorded last year when she opened her Thomas Kincaid Disney Dreams kit, it was just, the floss was just stuck in it. So even though you will see floss cards and thread keeps, well, it's typically floss cards in some of the larger kits, they're not always secure. So if you get one of those, check and then maybe secure them before getting started. And then to get floss off of a thread keep or a floss card, you're gonna take a needle, and then to take a piece of floss off, you just take a needle and stick it under one individual strand. And I don't actually have a needle handy, but you just take it under one individual strand, and then once it's loose, you just pull it out. So you can do that from both floss cards and thread keeps. They function the same. The real difference is kind of in how permanent they're supposed to be. Are you getting one that's gonna hold like 100 or 60 or 40 flosses versus one that's gonna hold like 8 to 10, you know? But they operate the same. You load them the same and you take your floss off of them the same. Then when your project is done, so like I actually finished this piece, I never took the floss off the thread keep because I quite like, these are Alforest flosses, and it was like, okay, well, these are the only Alforest flosses that I'm truly done with, so it's kind of nice to know they're on here. But when I've come up with a better over-dyed cotton permanent storage solution, I will move these to that. But when I finish this project, I will just take these flosses and put them on my, like with my regular DMC storage, which I'm doing as like Adam Hart floss drops, but whatever storage method you use. Now, the only problem is if you use bobbins and you do one of these, this is not gonna go back onto a normal bobbin. They'll go back onto the floss drops pretty easily, but this would be kind of annoying on a normal bobbin. But you have to finish the project first. So that might be a very, very, very future you problem depending on what project you're using it for. All right, I think I've covered everything that you need to know about using either thread keeps or floss cards. There are tons of really cute decorative thread keeps on Etsy. These, again, are from stitchybox.com, which I really like. Below I will link to the Amazon floss cards that are also popular. And then if you have any tips for using floss cards or know of any other great resources for using floss cards or thread keeps, please leave it in the comments. If you made it to this point in the video, please leave a car emoji, because there is obviously no card emoji. And we've used floss for many other things. So just leave a card emoji and that will be our secret language that you made it to this point in the video. And thank you guys so much for watching. This will be the end of this floss organization series for a little while. And I don't know what series we're gonna start next, but make sure to subscribe for more tutorials. And then on Monday, look for our Flosstube and Flosstube extras. All right, thanks so much. Bye.